Hey, this is Josh with TriloBITE Studios,
And this is Carl.
and today we're going to be talking about, is it alright to have private collectors own fossils?
Right.
Um,
So,
Carl, what's your view on this?
my view is yes, absolutely. I don't, because I wanted to, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording, and I want this to come from like a moral standpoint, right?
Is that why you're like all chest poked out right now?
I mean, it's always like that.
Oh, okay.
But, I kind of want it to come from a moral standpoint and also from like a scientific standpoint, which I think you're going to kind of jump onto that one. But morally, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I think that private collectors and private companies that, go and look for fossils and then sell them on the private market, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Mostly because I know it sounds almost like elementary, like you found it, it's yours. It's like finders keepers, right?
I mean, the law does state that if you find a fossil on your own land, it is yours.
Right.
That is the United States law.
Now,
However, there's also, I think, a law that states that all fossils are technically owned by the United States government.
yes.
So I don't really know how that one will play into that.
So what do you think? Do you think it's okay that, let's say you go on eBay and you really like Mosasaurus. So you go on eBay and you find a mosasaur tooth for sale. You buy the mosasaur tooth for, I don't know, a couple $100. Gets shipped to your house. You've got it. Cool. Then all of a sudden it turns out that mosasaur tooth you bought wasn't actually a mosasaur tooth. It was a brand new species. So now the government comes in and, let's say the government. The government comes, the local government comes in and says, you need to give that to us. Do you think it's okay for them to do that?
Well, it depends. How would you know? I mean, since you now own the tooth, there will be no way to actually know that's from a new species.
Well, let's say that they sent it to you, and then all of a sudden they realized, oh no, that wasn't the right tooth. Well, or no, that's a bad example, because then you would just get like a refund.
Yeah, like
but
your example is kind of falling apart.
Well, so the example, let's just say that you were doing your own research on it, and it turns out that, oh, it's a brand new species. So you make like a post on Reddit or Facebook or someplace that you're like, this mosasaur tooth I bought isn't actually a mosasaur tooth, it's a brand new species. And then somebody sees it, and then now the government comes in and decides to take it away from you. Let's say you're not a scientist, obviously, right? Because neither of us are really scientists. So you're not a scientist, the government comes in and says, you need to give that to us so our scientists can look at it, and end of story. Either you give it to us or we're going to smash it into pieces. Break your kneecaps for it.
I highly doubt they would smash it into pieces.
Well, they'll smash your kneecaps into pieces.
I would get a lawyer.
Okay, but do you think it's okay for the government to do that?
Yes and no.
Well, I say no.
Yeah, I know you do. I mean, that's kind of how we got Dinosaurus the way it is now. We had the arms for years.
Yeah.
We've seen how big these arms were, but we never had any other bones. And an actual private collector was the one that had them.
Yes.
And they apparently were stolen from Mongolia, from underneath the government's nose, and got to France. I think it was a French guy who bought it. He realized that, hey, this is something that's never been seen before, and then he turned it into a museum.
Okay.
Now, that way, I think that's fine. It's like, if your moral compass says, hey, I don't think this is,
sure.
But for government basically knocking down your door, yeah, I don't think that one's gonna fly.
Okay. So.
But it's more, like you said, it's a whole moral thing. Is
it morally right?
Is it morally right to actually own a fossil? That's the thing.
Right. So, do we want to kind of get into that argument, or do we want to go for the scientific argument? Because I kind of already know how you're going to approach this. I know how I'm going to approach this. So I'll just say this. I think that under any circumstances, if you have bought something paid for it or have found it on your own property or even in a public site and claimed it, then you should be able to keep it under any circumstances.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Even if it is a new discovery that could lead to greater research. If you want to keep that on your mantelpiece,
I mean,
you have every right to do so.
The early stages of paleontology, that was basically what it was. It was a bunch of guys that kind of just went out on weekends, found fossils, and, you know, they kept them in their house until, you know, science came along and was like, hey, this is a whole new genre of animals.
Right.
If I remember correctly, the story about how Hadrosaurus from New Jersey was found was a farmer on his land, dug a well, found some random bones, and said, hey, this isn't cool, and had it on a shelf piece.
Yeah.
Until someone that actually had the knowledge and go, hey, this is something new.
Like, hey, that's not a cyclops.
I mean, we're not talking about elephants here,
I know,
but,
I'm just making the example.
We're not talking about miniature elephants from Italy, but yeah.
Just making the example.
I mean, yeah, I got that. I get you. But yeah, it was someone who knew some, you know. Now, in that case, that was perfectly fine because, you know, a family friend came over and said, hey, you got something here. Let me give you, you know, like $300 for it. And, you know, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
But again, all these stories were of, you know, a private individual going to another individual going, hey, here's some money for this, and then it worked this way into, you know, an actual science lab and all this other stuff. It didn't have anything to do with government.
Right.
That's not until, you know, after, you know, World War One and all those
right. But so
problems.
In the modern era, what's your stance?
Modern era,
because obviously, you know,
I don't mind the private thing. It's just I don't think the government has any right to you know, knock down your door for it.
But isn't there a scientific? Because that's the argument they use, right? When they come in and they claim these privately owned things, they claim that, you know, they're taking it away so it can be researched. So
I mean, you're basically saying the same crap that the government told the Native Americans for their land too. I mean,
well, but so scientifically speaking, is it correct then to hold on to a fossil that could be potentially used to further the scientific understanding of ancient animals?
Again, it's a moral thing. I mean, I don't think that if you actually know what you're looking at, and it's, say, a Triceratops tooth, well, that's been documented, record, and everything and you're probably not going to get any new information. So no one really cares. But if you have something that either you're not aware of or not familiar with, you looked on the internet as much as you can and you can't find anything about it, you're looking under, you know, all these charts, you know, all the papers that are written by actual scientists, and when you are, you know, come to the conclusion that, hey, this might be something new, it's a moral thing. Do you turn that in, or do you just, you know, say fuck it and put it on your mantle and not say anything?
So what would you do?
I'll find my way to the nearest museum, because there's a whole opportunity that, you know, paleontologists could learn something new. You probably get famous, for one. I mean, that's kind of how Jack Horner really came to stardom.
Right.
Is he discovered Myosaurus from a rock shop.
Right.
So,
see, but then there are also cases where people turn in their fossils and they're just like, oh, thanks. And then that's it. They don't get any recognition. They don't get any credit. They don't get any mention. It's just like, wow, thanks. And then that's it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, it's a moral stance on the other guy, too. I mean, is he going to, you know, say, hey, thanks for the contributing to science, or hey, this is something new. Some Joe Schmo found it, and now I'm going to claim it under me and go from there.
So, what do you think? Well, I'm going to circle back to that one because I don't agree. I think that even if it's something new, I would keep it. But I'm going to circle back to that. What do you think about private businesses? Like, I watched a video earlier today, actually, where they went and they were actually with scientists. Funny enough, they were with Jack Horner, and they were the team that went was like they were on essentially a dig in Hell Creek, and then afterwards they went off to a privately owned, not like a state owned, not a museum owned.
But that would be state
Business. What? The museum?
If a museum is running it, would be state owned.
Well, it's not running it. Well, I mean, there are private museums. But this private business particularly was not being funded by any type of museum. It wasn't being funded by anything except the guys, like, out of his pocket, right? Mm-hmm. But what he was doing is he had a business where you could sign up for a weekend, a week, a month, however long you wanted to be there. As a private citizen, just a regular citizen, Joe Schmo off the street, you could sign up to go on these fossil digs. You could learn a few things about, how paleontology actually works in the field. So, and you get to help dig his site, which was privately owned. Now, he was then turning around and taking these fossils and selling them on the fossil market. Do you think that is correct?
Since you said privately owned,
but what
I think it's fine.
What if they find something brand new and then they sell it to a private collector?
I would hope the guy would notice something new about it and then kind of put that one to a side for a museum or something to know more about it. And museums have bought fossils from people before.
Right.
I mean,
I know.
I think it was a T-Rex or possibly Nano and Triceratops.
Well, there was also one that just happened like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago.
Sue was bought by a museum. I think Stan the T-Rex was bought. I think privately owned now, somewhere in France. But yeah, it's one of those things. It's like this has always been part of paleontology.
Right.
It's either fossils being sold to the public or fossils being sold to a museum.
Right.
So it's one of those things. It's like it depends on the person you're dealing with, and it depends on the museum that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It comes down to is who's gonna do what.
So
it's a moral thing.
Right.
But it goes back to that. It's always a moral thing.
So are we saying that's morally correct, or are we saying that's morally wrong?
I think it's fine,
do you think it's correct? Okay.
Honestly, I think it's fine.
So even
because, as you said, it was his own private fossil site.
Well, I mean, even
his own company, and what he does with the fossils by United States law says it's on his property. He can do what he wants with it.
What about in the event that it's something new? Is it morally correct if we're going on that same logic, where it's like his property, he found it, it's his? Is it morally correct, in your opinion, to hold on to that find, even if it's brand new?
If it's morally defined by saying if you can automatically go, that's new, do I sell it on my website or do I sell it to an actual museum? Again, that depends on the person.
Well, no, I'm asking you.
If it was myself, I probably would put it to the side and sell it to a museum.
Okay. So
because they will know more what to do with it. I hope I get a footnote in someone's paper.
Okay.
But after that, I can't really do anything about it. I might be able to find more of whatever that was.
Sure.
But that's not always a guarantee with fossils.
See, because I think in order to stay aligned with the principles that I've already set forth for myself, which is that it's on his property, he found it, morally for me, even if it's brand new, I have to say that it's still morally correct for him to hold on to it. Because he found it. I understand that there's...
No, I'm pretty sure they keep whatever cool stuff for themselves.
Yeah, and I'm sure that...
I mean, if you find a T-Rex skull, yeah, it's gonna make bank, but it's one of those things. You found a T-Rex skull.
Yeah.
It's just cool to have no matter what.
And I understand that, maybe that sounds wrong to people listening or, the greater scientific community who are like, no, you should immediately turn those fossils over. Well, you found it. They didn't have a hand in finding it. They didn't help. You can study it yourself.
At the end of the day, you still gotta put food on your table and pay your bills.
Right, so...
And that's kind of what the whole show, Dino Hunter on Discovery was about. It's like, yeah, these guys are ranchers, but they're doing dinosaur hunting on their own property. So, sometimes cattle market isn't good.
Right.
But yet the dinosaur market always goes up.
That's true.
So it's one of those things. It's like you may not want to do it, but it's one of those things that if it comes to putting food on the table for your family, or getting you to the next year with the bank, you kind of have to do it.
See, when we started this, and before we started the podcast, I thought that you were going to be on this, not necessarily the side of, but more aligned with the idea that because it'd be good for science, then you should give up or be made to give up any new discovery that you find.
I am for the side of science, but I'm also just on the side of realism. It's like...
Well, the problem is here that we both value property rights too much. Because I know I value property rights.
We're Americans. That's what we do.
We fought a whole war for a 3-cent tax on tea.
This is true. And then, America decided to go, said, yeah, whatever treaty the British made with the Native Americans, that doesn't apply to us anymore.
Well, it doesn't. But that we're getting way off topic with that. So... I think
this just became a history lesson, Carl.
I think we line up closer than I initially, because I thought that you were gonna be more like, okay, well, if you find something new, then you should be forced to give it up. I thought you were gonna line up on that side of the argument, and then I was gonna be like, no, property rights. But you're just saying the same thing that I'm saying, which is no, property rights. But but if you were in that situation, then you would give it up.
We're talking about in North America, obviously, because that's where we're from. So that's the way we're thinking is, by law, what the United States says. I mean, yeah, it probably does happen in the United States with fossil poachers and all that, and, private collectors buying, unknown animals from the fossil dealers.
Can we call it the fossil black market?
Well, yeah, or eBay,
Yeah, eBay.
But it's one of those things that more happen in places like China, Mongolia, and those rural areas where the government really doesn't care about the people.
Right. They don't have property rights in China.
So it's one of those things where you can.
They don't even have food in China.
Well, okay. It's one of those things where if you find a fossil, and you can sell it to a black market dealer, that could probably, help your family. Like I said, put food on your table, put clothes on your kids' back, put a roof over their head, and it comes down to a moral thing, but it's also one of those realism things where we don't live in a world of sunshine and rainbows all the time.
Yeah. So we basically have the same thoughts on that then. So, because what my question that I was hoping to spark a little bit of debate with was that if you found something brand new, which is what I said at the start of the video, if you found something brand new, should you be forced to give that up so it can be studied further?
Well, there's also...
is that a yes or a no for you?
I don't know. That's a tough one.
No, you gotta answer.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna keep your feet
holding
in the fire.
Me on this one.
So you find something brand new.
If I found something brand new, I would turn it over.
Okay, but let's say you want to keep it. Should there be a law that forces you to give it up so it can be studied further?
I don't think so, because I mean that's literally many lawsuits that have.
Well, at that point, it's just theft, isn't it?
I mean, that's what the United States government's good at.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean, stealing from other people in the name of the United States is kind of what the America's good at.
Well, oh boy.
Open a history book, it pretty much tells you word for word for that one.
Well, listen, we paid them 3 beans for 50 acres of land. It was a good trade.
In what universe, Carl?
In the universe where you need to eat you can't. Listen, we gave them the beans. I'm sorry, that was a terrible joke.
Yeah, that was a pretty piss poor joke.
Okay, let me try again then.
No, how about we don't? Save everyone the time and effort. Don't do that.
All right. So there should be no law on the books that forces you to give something up if it's brand new in regards to paleontology.
No, there should not be a law about it.
But you should do it.
It should be a moral thing.
You're saying that you should do it.
It should, but it shouldn't be enforcement. You know? It's one of those things. Like you said before, the world is a gray area, or I said before, there's never a point where the government shouldn't really have any say in what fossils do, but yet museums and stuff get payment from the government to run.
Right.
So it's one of those. It's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword. So you think it's okay for people to own completely undiscovered species in private collections?
Well, most of those people probably don't know they're undiscovered.
Let's just say that they know they have something special.
Well, if they know, then that's, again, on them.
Sure, but do you think that that's okay?
Maybe. I mean...
Well, because I'm trying to follow your logic train here.
My logic train's all over the place.
I already know...
I don't know where you're trying to ask.
I already know that if you were in that situation, you would give up your new find, right?
Yeah.
But let's say, do you think it's okay for somebody who doesn't want to give up their find to have a new species in a private collection? What I'm trying to get at is like a logical thought train, because you've already said that it's okay for people to have new species. So I'm just trying to see if, or you've already said that the government shouldn't come in and force you to give up a new find.
Be able to force you to give it up.
So is that okay then? If you own a private collection and you know you have something unique and you want to keep it, then is that okay?
Again, that depends on the person.
No, but I'm asking.
Again, if it was me...
No, you're missing the question. The question isn't about you or the person. The question is just about, is that okay?
Well, how... Again, you're asking a question that doesn't really... it's either is it from me perspective, or is it someone else? Well, and I don't know what the other person would do in that situation.
It's not from a you perspective.
I mean, what would you do?
What do you mean?
If you were in that situation, what would you do?
Well, personally,
if you had a private fossil collection and you got your hands on something that was brand spanking new from the fossil record, what would you do with it?
Well, personally, I would just go ahead and turn it over. But I'm not.
And why are we
I'm not asking.
Carl?
I'm not asking you, and I'm not asking me. I'm asking, is it okay in general? I'm not asking about like if.
I mean, in general, it doesn't really give matter.
Well, because in order to line up with your logic, which we've already kind of discovered,
is kind of like yours, which
right. But because we already both agreed that the government should not be allowed to come in and take a fossil by force. So now I'm asking, is it okay for a private collection to keep that new fossil?
Here's the question. What are you defining as a private collection? Because there are museums that are privately funded, which would be counted as a private collection.
I'm thinking of like mustache twirling.
Billionaires that has a T-Rex head in his office.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Just because he wanted a T-Rex head.
Right, like a mustache twirling, like, monocle, whiskey sipping, or not whiskey, but I don't know what's expensive.
Monopoly Man.
Yeah,
is what you're thinking.
Monopoly Man. I'm thinking Monopoly Man.
Okay, so...
Is it okay for Monopoly Man to keep a new species in his private collection? even though he knows he's denying scientists the chance to look at it.
I don't think it's wrong. I mean,
Right. That's what I was getting at.
Okay, well,
We finally got to the bottom, folks.
yeah, except for, it took you 3 years to get there.
I don't understand how I could have phrased that question any differently to get there.
Because you didn't define what private collection means.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
You have to make your statements, fully intact before you deliver it.
Okay, so we agree that Monopoly Man...
As a private citizen owning his own fossil collection...
Yes.
And if you knew you had something undiscovered...
Uh-huh.
I think it is okay, but morally wrong.
Ah, so now we've opened another can of worms. So it's morally reprehensible.
Yeah, because if you knew it's something, is from, say, the Cretaceous period, that's undiscovered after doing your own research on it, and you choose not to turn it in, then obviously that's a morally wrong thing. But there should not be any, legal reason for you to have to turn that in.
Okay, but why is it morally wrong?
Again, with the whole Dinosaurus, the guy knew that bought the stuff, knew that it was what I'm trying to say. He knew it was different. He knew it was undiscovered, and he decided to turn it in.
Right.
That was a morally correct thing to do.
Why is that morally correct? You bought it. You paid for it. Why can't I keep it?
I'm gonna slap you.
No,
right
I'm just saying. This is the kind of debate I wanted to get down to, because people say that, oh, if you have it, you should just give it over because it's morally correct. Well, I paid for it. I found it.
Well, if you paid for it, why did you find it?
Okay, let's say
maybe those are two different things.
Maybe I lost it in my comically large pile of gold coins that I dive into. But
you'd be dead if you did that.
As
right?
Mr. Yes, I know, as Mr. Monopoly Man. But no, okay, so why is it morally reprehensible for somebody to want to keep something that they paid for or that they found?
Why was it okay? Here's a question. Here's a question. In World War II, the military created computers for warfare.
Yes.
Why is it okay for we to now take that technology and give it to the public and years later, and we're doing this? How is that any different from someone finding something and keeping it to themselves?
It's completely different.
How?
Well, because the government is funded by the public. The government is supposed to represent the public, and eventually that technology is going to trickle down. It's not like when you have a private collection of something, and you're Mr. Monopoly Man. That is your collection. It'll never trickle down to the public because it is yours. The government is a public-owned entity, or it's supposed to be. It's supposed to serve and protect the rights of the people, not just have its own little thing going on.
I do find it funny that we decided to do a discussion on fossils, and we're getting history and civics lessons in this.
But it all is relative, right? Because what I'm saying, you're saying that it's morally reprehensible for somebody to hold on to a fossil that could, or that is new, that could be studied further by scientists if it were to be given up, if they were to give it away. What I'm saying is, why is it morally
knowledge should be given to the public. I didn't say the fossil itself had to turn over, but the knowledge of knowing in possible more discoveries of that fossil should definitely be given to the public, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. So now I see what you're saying now, because before I thought you were saying that it's just like you should be like, if you bought something, paid for it with honest money. I hate saying that, but like if you bought something with honest money and you paid for it and you got it shipped to your house and you set it up on your fireplace and you said, "Yep, I like that. I'm not giving that up," then that is,
I mean,
not the right choice. See? This is what I wanted. This is what we're getting at. Because in my mind, I don't really see anything wrong with that. Even if it is a new scientific discovery and they don't want to let people study it, or they don't want to let people, or they don't want to give it up, it's the same logic. Like, maybe to me and you, it makes sense that we should give it up because, oh yeah, that's just the right choice. It makes sense to me and you. But I'm also playing devil's advocate here. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to keep something that you bought and not share it around.
I mean, no, I don't think there's something wrong with that. It's just one of those things. It's, yeah, I get.
But you just said.
I get where you're going.
No, you just said there was something wrong with it.
I get what you're saying. Okay, I get it. If it's yours, it's yours.
Okay, territory has been conceded.
If it's yours, it is yours.
Yes.
I get that.
Okay.
But I do feel strongly that the scientific knowledge of what we can gain from that.
So you're saying it outweighs your rights?
No, fuck you, Carl.
I like arguments like, oh, it's not really an argument, it's more of a discussion.
It's a very odd discussion that's done like 888 track.
But we got to where I wanted to go. And
is that what taking me to the loony bin because I'm freaking doing dirt circles here?
I'm just trying to boil your argument down because I already know where I stand, right?
Actually, you're sitting, but anyway,
right, I already know where I'm sitting. If it was in my collection, I would give it up. But at the same time, I don't see anything wrong with the people who want to keep it.
I've said that like 4 times.
No, you didn't.
Yes,
you said
I literally said it was about the moral. I said it's literally about the moral of the individual. I said that since the beginning, and you keep circling back into it.
But I'm trying to get down to, is it right or wrong? And because you already said that you think it's wrong, we're not judging people as individuals. We're judging the collective, right? So is it wrong?
You know what? You need a freaking script so I know what the hell you're trying to get to.
No, I don't understand how I'm not making any sense because you've already said.
One, you asked a question in vague.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I didn't mean to.
You asked it in vague. Then when I asked you to define what you meant,
I did.
You did.
Yes.
And then we got an answer. So why are we going back to the same subject?
No, we didn't
square one.
We didn't get an answer for that one.
What? What are you talking about?
The whole point of the discussion is to find out.
I said, and I quote, okay, if it's yours, it is yours. However, the moral obligation to turn in for the public knowledge of scientific, that is what I said.
Yes, but that's the point.
That is all. That was your question. That was the answer.
You're saying
end of story.
No, you're saying it's morally wrong to want to keep something that's yours. That's what you said. He said it, folks. Listen, folks, he said it. I heard him say it. He said it. No, that's what you said. You said that it was morally reprehensible to keep something in your collection that could potentially lead to more scientific discoveries. Yes or no? Did you say that? Yes. I already know the answer. It's yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I'm saying that it is not morally reprehensible to do that because you own it.
Now, if you were to buy a fossil, obviously you wouldn't know where it came from.
Right.
So therefore, you're kind of stuck with what you got. But I'm saying if you found a fossil out in the wherever, then that's where you have the moral obligation to go, hey, I found something here.
Why? Why are you morally obligated to give it away if you found it?
I don't know. That's what
finder's rights.
Dude, there's freaking lawsuits on paleontology everywhere that have dealt with this type of situation.
Right. So it's a neat argument, isn't it?
What do you?
No, I think it's a neat argument because you're saying that morally it is correct to give up a find. I'm saying that morally it is neutral to give up a find. It's neither right nor wrong because you own it. You know, if you want to give it up, that's fine. That's cool. If you want to keep it, that's also cool.
There was
I have no problem with
fine, and it was I believe, one of the early North American Thanatosaurus. Okay, guy found it by himself. He wrote down everything. Realized it was something new. He turned it into the museum.
Mm-hmm.
That was on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was his choice.
Mm-hmm. So what about a guy
Now,
in the same situation, but he doesn't want to turn it in?
Then we don't talk about it.
But is he wrong for not wanting to turn it in?
Well, if you don't know anything about it, then how can...
No. Let's say same exact situation. He knows it's something special. Doesn't want to turn it in. Wants to just keep it. Is that wrong?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay, so that's the juicy bit, because I don't think it's wrong. I think in that same situation, he has...
Here's my question. You keep asking me, is it wrong? But yet you have not given any...
Yes, I have.
Where?
In all of my arguments.
What argument? You just keep saying stuff, and mostly it's repeating the dang question over and over.
Okay, in all of my statement... Okay, so then you ask me. Go ahead, ask me.
Okay, why do you think it's morally okay for someone to keep a fossil that they've either purchased or found that might be new to science? Why is that morally okay?
Because they
but
own it.
It's not. But it's also okay if they turn it in.
Because they own it. That's your answer for both questions. They own it. If they want to keep it, cool. If they want to turn it in, cool. It's theirs. They can do what they want with it. There should not be a moral obligation there. There should not be a right or wrong. It's theirs. They own it. I've given you that answer every time we've circled back to the question.
Okay, well, you know what? Let's let the comments part of the YouTube channel argue it out, I guess, because we're getting nowhere with it.
No, we're getting somewhere. We've already gotten somewhere.
See, but at some points we're like not only digging our own hole, but we're also putting the dirt back in it to dig it back out.
I've been burying you this entire time, bud. You don't even realize.
No, well, in 65 million years, you can dig up my fossils
and then I'll keep you in my private collection. See, I think that it was definitely a fun conversation, though. And there, I think we'll have to agree to disagree, because you feel strongly that there should be some sort of moral obligation to turn over the fossil. I think that because that person owns it, they should have no moral obligation to... It's theirs. They can do whatever they want with it. It's like if I took, my microphone, and I was like, here, Josh, you can have my microphone. I hand you my microphone. That's yours now. Or if I'm just like, oh... And I throw it out, and you're like, let's say you're in a situation where you're like, man, I really wish I had a microphone, and I just bought a brand new one. So I'm like, here, Josh, you can have my old microphone. That's morally right, But at the same time, let's say you're like, oh, I really need a microphone. I brought a brand new one. I take my old one, I throw it out the window, and it just shatters into a million pieces. That's also okay, because I own that microphone. I can do whatever I want with it. I don't have any obligation to give it to you just because you want it or you need it.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, that's kind of my whole argument. But your argument is saying that, like, let's say you needed a microphone, I buy a new microphone, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I don't need this microphone anymore. Here you go. You can have that. You're saying that will be the right answer, instead of me throwing it out the window. I'm saying that there is no right answer to that situation because I own it. I can do with it what I want. Right?
Sure, okay.
I'm trying to deconstruct the argument as best I can.
Well, it's 5:11. I need to get going to work.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have...
Like I said, let the comments
lies.
In the YouTube channel fight over...
Discuss it out.
Well, fight over it.
See, we're not even really arguing. I think it's just a discussion. I hate the term argument, because argument implies that two people are angry at each other. I'm not angry at you. I'm having a great time.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, would you like to take us out?
Yeah, sure. I'm Josh.
And don't throw me out the window. I'm Carl.
And this was TriloBITE Studios. I'm right.
No, you're not. Thanks for watching, guys.
Bye.